So we have been exploring this delightful book by Reverend Robert Brumet, Living Originally. We began first by looking at radical self-awareness. That was the first core practice. The second one was deep self-acceptance. Then we explored the world of unlimited forgiveness and universal benevolence. And now today, we're going to explore compassionate communication. Well, each week that we have been delving into this work, we've needed to remind ourselves what living originally means. And what Robert intended was for us to understand that we have a source, our origin, and that is what he means by originally. And to live from our origin or our God self, universal life, all that is, universal love, whatever name we may give it, from that pure source, recognizing that we're conditioned as human beings on this physical planet. We're conditioned by culture and family and language and religion. And that our sense of who we are tends to be related to our attachment to this conditioning rather than to our true identity. And so what he's inviting us to do is to move into a space of questioning that, of questioning our thoughts and our feelings, to determine if they're coming from our origin, our source of good, or if they're coming from the conditioning of what has been imprinted on us by culture. And so we explore different practices, what I like to call love work, to take home and to try out, to move from our ego reaction to the world to an unencumbered, inspired, even benevolent response in its place. And it's interesting that the power of faith, which we celebrate in the month of January, is very much required for radical self-awareness and deep self-acceptance. Faith in ourselves, faith in our ability to change our perspective, faith in our spiritual journey. The power of faith is the ability to believe, to spiritually intuit, to perceive, and to have conviction. And we have faith to be the best person and the best expression of Christ consciousness that we can be, knowing and feeling our internal, eternal connection with the divine. It is with faith that we enter into the possibility of radical self-awareness, trusting in our access to divine mind, trusting in the divine wisdom and guidance that is within every one of us. And it is with faith that we enter into the practice of deep self-acceptance, having faith in our worthiness, self-confidence to simply be present. And we trust in the divine presence in our lives. And the power of love, which we celebrate in the month of February, is intricately and intimately involved in unlimited forgiveness and universal benevolence, as well as today, compassionate communication. I can assure you, I did not plan it that way. I did not have these two powers or attributes of the divine in my mind as I penciled in these talks and the dates. Something else was at work here beyond my conscious awareness. And I love when that happens. So February is the power of love, the power of love. And I know where your mind might go because my mind goes there too. It goes to Huey Lewis and the song, The Power of Love. It's not that one, not romantic love. Love is one of our divine attributes, one of the many ways that we express the divine through us, as us. Love in divine mind is the idea of universal unity. universal unity. In expression, it is the power that joins and binds together the universe and everything in it. Love is harmonizing. It's a constructive power. Divine love is impersonal. It loves for the sake of loving. It's not concerned with what or who it loves, nor with the return of love. Like the sun, its purpose, its joy is in the shining forth of its nature. The sun shines whether or not we are noticing, whether or not we're appreciative, whether or not the clouds may impede our ability to feel it or to see it or to enjoy. So it is with divine love. It simply is. Love is an inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everyone. Love is the great harmonizer and the great healer. We trust in the power of love when we enter into the practice of unlimited forgiveness. Remember, this forgiveness extends to ourselves as well as to others. Excuse me. We trust in the power of love when we enter into the space of universal benevolence. Benevolence is a disposition of goodwill and kindness. It's a space of graciousness. And this practice is about cultivating the intention of benevolence, of appreciation, kindness, and generosity. And we begin with the people in our own circle, the ones we come in contact with day to day. This appreciation, this kindness and generosity. And then we widen the circle to the extent that we are able. That was our love work for last week, and it continues. We rely upon the power of love as we move into the fifth of our core practices, for this may be the most challenging of all. Why? Why would compassionate communication be the most challenging of all? Because it involves interacting with others. We can forgive from a distance. We can even be benevolent from a distance. But communication, that involves others. Robert Brumet states that it's in relationships with others that we find our greatest joys and our greatest challenges. And we know this. I'm sure you've heard some version, some variation of the morning prayer. It goes something like this. Dear Lord, so far today, I've done all right. I haven't gossiped. I haven't lost my temper. I haven't been greedy or grumpy or nasty or selfish, nor overindulgent. And I'm very grateful to you for that. But in a few minutes, Lord, I'm probably going to need a lot more help because I'm going to get out of bed. We do pretty well until we have to interact with our world and with others. Robert Brumet also shares that because of these challenges, the difficulties in sustaining radical self-awareness and deep self-acceptance out in the world, our relationship with others then offers us the greatest potential for our transformation. For these spiritual practices are for our personal transformation. And perhaps nothing impacts the quality of our lives more than the quality of our relationships. So this is what Robert Brumet says about compassionate communication. It is a process that connects us deeply to our own internal experiences and to the deepest part of others. It has the potential to transform our relationships, our culture, and most important, ourselves. Compassionate communication includes speaking and listening, reading and writing, It incorporates our previous 4 practices. Intention and awareness are key in this practice. And it is very important that we engage this practice with clear understanding and intention. The intention is not to change another person or to get them to agree with you. It's not even to have them understand you. The primary intention must be your personal transformation as you engage in this practice. If this occurs, your relationships will improve, but this is a byproduct rather than the primary intention. And so as we move into this space of compassionate communication, we understand that it begins with right speech. Right speech does not mean that there's just one and only one way to speak. It's one of the practices of Buddhist teachings, right speech. It means that which supports spiritual practice and leads to transformation. So to engage in this practice, an important part is noticing when you are not practicing right speech, when what you're communicating would not promote spiritual transformation. That awareness gives you the opportunity to choose differently. We often learn more from our errors or what we see as mistakes than from our successes. So part of this is to be mindful of what you're speaking now so that you can choose differently. The formula or the guidelines are so simple. Before I speak or write, I consider 3 things. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? So let's look at the first part. Is it true? Is it true? Or am I elaborating? Am I exaggerating? Maybe even falsifying, stretching that truth. I set the intention and make the effort to not present anything that is false or questionable. And I look at those times when I am not being completely truthful so that I can ask myself, why? Why did I elaborate or exaggerate? Am I motivated by fear or anger? Am I trying to avoid something? If it's fear, do I believe it's not safe to be truthful? Am I honest in my relationships? Am I avoiding something? Am I afraid of being alone or isolated? Or am I exaggerating to impress someone or to have them think better of me? I can choose to speak only what is true. And then we move to the second question, is it kind? And kindness is not necessarily the same thing as being polite, nice, or politically correct. Kindness is not flattery. Kindness begins with the heart's intention. It begins with appreciation and genuine caring. And it arises from the heart and cannot be contained in a formula. If you have to ask yourself to choose between speaking the truth or being kind, perhaps it's not necessary to speak at all, for the two are not incompatible. The question is more how to speak the truth and be kind at the same time, and that may take some practice. If you find it difficult, ask yourself, what is my intention? If being true and being kind are finding you in a dilemma, ask yourself, is it my intention or my desire to share with another? Am I speaking with concern for another's well-being, or am I attempting to impress or influence? Am I trying to justify or defend myself in some way? Am I attached to a particular outcome? Am I aware of feeling fear or anger before I speak? Do I speak to convey information or to deepen relationships? Or do I speak to fortify my ego, to relieve anxiety, to impress someone, or to control a situation? To answer these questions takes us to number 3. Is it necessary? And by necessary, it means, is it necessary for them? Not necessary because you need to get it off your chest or you want to have the opportunity to talk. Now, I know this may sound complicated. You may think it's easier to just not speak at all. Well, right speech is all about intention, being aware of our intention, not about censoring or speech. It's truly 3 simple questions. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? Now, speaking or writing is not the only part of communication. There's also listening. Compassionate listening is as important as compassionate speak. Now, there's listening and then there's hearing. If you speak to me in a language I don't understand, I'm hearing. I'm using one of my 5 human senses to hear, but I'm not understanding anything. Listening requires more. So let's look at 4 ways of listening. So you might be listening with one ear, but the other is distracted by your own thoughts. You're preoccupied with thoughts and judgments, perhaps about the person that's speaking to you or something else going on in your life. You're listening more to the conversation in your head than the words that the other person is speaking. The number 2, the next level is listening, is that you're hearing what the person is saying. You're open to hearing it. You may even be enjoying it, but it's only going as far as the intellect. You aren't willing to open your heart. And this kind of listening is the most prevalent in our culture. And then there's the third. In this third level of listening, you are honestly willing to be changed as a result of this interaction. You are willing to keep your heart open and to understand the speaker in a deep way. You are willing to enter into true dialogue with the other person, holding the intention that you both will be enriched and deepened as a result of this heartfelt, very true connection. We have these experiences also, and we can set the intention to have this be how we hold another person always. And the 4th level of listening is even more than our human sense of hearing and our heartfelt desire and openness. It transcends our usual concept of listening. Here, both the speaker and the listener enter into the field of listening to spirit as it speaks to both. Both enter with complete opening of mind, heart, and soul. Here we are willing to be changed at depth. And this is rare and precious. Compassionate communication requires that we're willing to go beyond where we are comfortable, to stretch beyond those previous limits of conversation. It requires both radical self-awareness and deep self-acceptance. It requires the willingness to forgive without limitation and to be open to our hearts, to open our hearts to anyone and everyone. The most important relationship we have is the one with our own true nature. This relationship deeply influences all others. A spiritual community such as this one encourages each member to cultivate this relationship as a basis for all others. This relationship, your relationship with the essence of who you are. And as we communicate more consciously and more compassionately with others, we're also learning to communicate more consciously and more compassionately with ourselves. Love is not directional. It always flows inward and outward simultaneously. Robert Brumet ends this section about compassionate communication with these words: transforming ourself and transforming our relationships are simply two dimensions of the same process. Compassion is the key. Compassion for self as well as for others. Compassionate communication is love in expression. Remember, these practices are for our own very personal transformation. We explore these as a chosen spiritual practice. It has nothing to do with merit or lack of merit or whether someone else is deserving in your mind. We do this for us with the much added benefit of blessing our world. And so it is. We relax now into this time of interconnection as we prepare to move into our meditation. You can close your eyes now if you're comfortable doing so, or gaze softly at something before you. You'll be listening to beautiful music. Listen to the words. Everything is sacred. And allow the music to carry you deeper into that inner space, that inner place. And then listening, and as Sherry will guide us even deeper. Everything is sacred.
And settle into a posture of acceptance, of grace. Let us carry this music into our hearts. Breathe into your heart space and exhale. Again. Breathe, deep breath in and out. We breathe and we move into this space of meditation, closing your eyes if you so choose. And you are open. You are open to a new awareness, an awareness that everything is sacred. You are awakening to the wonder that you are, the wonder that everything is alive with spirit. Your unique individualized path has brought you to this place in your life, this time in your life to know you are alive with spirit and everything is sacred. You are a seeker, a curious student, a communicator, And God has circled this place in your life, the now, this moment, this real time, for you to accept your divine aliveness, to grow in spirit. With an open heart, a trusting heart, you affirm your readiness, you affirm your courage, you affirm your innate wisdom, which guides you always. And you carry this awareness in your heart and mind into the silence, into the silence. And with our being refreshed by our knowing, we accept these words. We are magnificent, we are a wonder, we are worthy, and we are truly loved. We begin now to return to the awareness of this space, this place. Everything is sacred.